What's going on, everybody? What's going on, Coach? We got Ant Zombie Slayer, of course, he's here with me today. We have Mr. Tibbs. Let's wake up, says Mr. Tibbs. Wow, it is a blast to be here. It's a blast. Where's that? Why is that? Oh, it's on your TV, that's why. You might have to, and you might have to mute the video. Because it's picking up.
Oh.
Yeah. Let me see if that works. Why is it so loud? Do I have multiple instances up? Oh, I have multiple instances up. It wasn't even you. All right, guys, that was my fault. Welcome into the stream. I'm the Notorious Base. I do a lot of challenge runs, you know, the no save, no damage, the whole, you know, spiel. And we also do a lot of challenge runs over here, and a lot of comedy skits, and a lot of lore history videos, whether it be the franchises that we all know and love. And today, guys, I am joined by a very special guest, somebody that adores survival, psychological, and anything horror. I have brought with me today on the live stream, Ant Zombie Slayer. What's up, Ant? Welcome in.
What's going on, everyone? How you doing, Base?
I'm doing good, my man.
Happy to be here. Happy to be here today.
And we are happy to have you live on stream today, my brother. It is always a pleasure to have you. And yeah, on the opening video, because guys, me and Ann are very passionate about Resident Evil and horror games. So we are starting a mini series that is going to be about the history of evil. And this may take a few streams, but I do have a big announcement as well in regards to who else will be joining us on the streams. And that will be Mr. Tibbs. So we're going to have, I know, this is going to be one hell of a packed out stream back and forth. So one week we'll have Ant Zombie Slayer on, the next we'll have Mr. Tibbs, two lore guys that love what they talk about. And man, oh man, will it be a pleasure. I'm so happy to be here with you guys today. I sound a little bit under the weather. That is because I am. So please excuse me if I, yeah, we both really have, gotten our butts kicked by literally just colds recently, so but I had to be here. The T virus got me. Anthony has the G virus.
I gotta take some first aid and herbs.
just use a blue herb because for poison. So you can find us here, guys. We're gonna be trying to keep our stream time around 5 to 6 p.m. start times, anywhere from 7 to 8. We're gonna go for the 2-hour block, and we're just excited. Brother Bass and Mr. Tibbs collab. What is the world we are living in? You better believe it. Mr. Tibbs is going to be on episode 2 of this mini series, and Ant Zombie Slayer is here for the first one. They will be switching off, and then for the final episode in this mini series, all three of us will be on it, guys. Very exciting stuff. Yeah.
Mr. Tibbs is definitely the lore master when it comes to Resident Evil.
Absolutely. I would say
he knows so much stuff.
Oh, hell yeah. Are you kidding me? This dude is just a walking glossary. So we're going to start by looking at this wonderful picture. Me and Anthony have been doing a little bit of research off screen to find the best stuff to describe and understand the Resident Evil timeline. Now, the best thing to really know about the Resident Evil timeline, truthfully, is what is lore accurate and what is not. And what is that called? That's called canon, right?
Canon, yeah. Then there's like head canon.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, it's not.
And those, now, canon means what is actually true and happening in the story. So we're going to take it back years, guys, years, all the way back to 1968, okay? And this is where this history of evil begins. We're going to be looking and diving into this with conversation. Thank you, Ant. I look forward to seeing what you guys cook up. Thank you, my man. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in right here, and I'm just going to read this to you, and I'm going to have me and Ant take turns reading each of the blurbs, okay, and giving our honest thoughts on certain things. But I'll read the opening, A History of Evil. As this timeline illustrates, what started as a simple rescue mission set off a chain reaction that would expose the evil agenda of a multinational corporation. That's Umbrella. Wipe an entire city off the face of the earth and turn thousands of ordinary people into mindless puppets. Well said there, Kenny.
Damn.
That was honestly a bar.
Sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah, sounds like something.
A virus turns people into zombies.
Sounds like it has its events that lead up to it, right? So, Ant, you take over the 1968 blurb.
All right. The Umbrella Pharmaceutical Corporation is founded by Oswell E. Spencer, Edward Ashford, and Dr. James Marcus. Resident Evil, The Umbrella Chronicles.
All right, so that's pretty interesting, right? Now, I am not somebody that was a big fan of the Umbrella Chronicles, but I do know that they have significant ties into the story lore, especially certain parts of the game. Now,
Yes.
we do know that the Umbrella Pharmaceutical Company was founded by Mr. Spencer, the Ashford, right? Edward Ashford, the father of Alfred and Alexia, that we know from Code Veronica, and Dr. James Marcus, who is mentioned in Resident Evil 0. And don't you worry, guys, we're going to be going through all of the games.
And I would say that the root of the evil is definitely Spencer, Oswald E. Spencer.
Right.
It kind of all started with him and his desire for power and wanting to control everyone. And I think a lot of which we'll get to, the progenitor virus, is the sort of looking for immortality.
Right. Do you think that, and you know, with your background and profession as well as me, do you think that somebody like Oswell E. Spencer, he had such a fear of dying that he was looking for anything to become immortal? Like, what was his deal? What do you personally think?
I don't know. I mean, possibly that he wanted to live forever, and he wanted to. I think he was like a control freak. I think he wanted to. He created this virus. He said he wanted to create advanced human beings, but I think he really wanted to control people, to control them.
Right. Now that's the interesting part, Mr. Tibbs. I see what you're saying. Why is Mother Miranda not mentioned before? And she will be. That is something that I'd like to lean into with this first opening discussion, because obviously we did not find out about Mother Miranda with the connection to Oswald E. Spencer till the most recent game. Okay, so we're covering the events of 1968, and don't worry, I'm going to cover everything. But we need the normal fans that have not gotten to understand the story or don't know the big three that formed the Umbrella Corporation. We need them to understand exactly what it is. Now, when it comes to Mother Miranda is a villain in the most recent mainline Resident Evil, known as Village, right? And I'm sure we could find a copy, obviously, probably right after we read through this, of what Mother Miranda's document or what Oswald E. Spencer's document was from Mother Miranda, right? We're going to discuss that. Now, as we continue going forward, before we do that, we want to make sure that we just cover the basics for people that truly don't know yet. All right, now I'm going to read the 1997... 1998. I mean, this is like, you know, 1997 is going to show us a little bit about Billy Cohen's background. All right, folks. Now we have 1997. Billy Cohen's Marine Squadron is ordered to murder the members of a civilian village in Africa. And when the unit is brought back to the U.S., the soldiers are convicted of murdering 23 people and are sentenced to death. These are the precursors to what happens in Resident Evil 0, which we're going to do a deep dive on each game individually. And what were your thoughts when you first saw that cutscene within the game?
Of 0?
Yeah, like what did you think of the whole thing before even knowing like any sort of outcome? Like what did you think of Billy Cohen and kind of his background?
He's a very interesting character. He's underutilized character.
Yeah, good old cesspool.
I haven't played RE0 too much to dive too much into it, but if we are talking about Africa, I believe I'm connecting it to RE5 where isn't that where, I don't know if it was a plant, but from Africa was where they synthesized to create the progenitor virus? I don't know if that's completely accurate.
Right. Okay. So, just for the sake of, right, we'll have this up right now because I know it was mentioned by Mr. Tibbs, right, to cover this part. Do you think the African village was the one that above the flowers that contained the progenitor virus? Are you talking about the one from Resident Evil 5, or are you saying that the one from Resident Evil 5 was kind of like a replica of it? Which I would believe that the African village was the one that contained the progenitor virus. So guys, if you could see on screen, Mr. Tibbs pointed out something very important. We're going to read Spencer's letter. And I would love for you to read this because this is the exact transcript, if you could say it, of Oswald E. Spencer basically talking to his teacher.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Okay, so dear Miranda, my deepest apologies for not meeting you in person. I would love nothing more than to visit our quaint village once more. However, I am incredibly busy. Then again, I suppose for an immortal woman such as yourself, you no longer remember this poor half-dead medical student in the snow. I have always cherished the revelations I came to 15 years ago when I stayed in your village. Revelations. I was inspired by your research to think one could transform a human by infecting them with an organism.
Ooh.
I lost it. It's positively visionary. I know with that knowledge I could achieve my own vision for the next step in human evolution. Even after 2 world wars and humanity on the cusp of another, my conviction never wavered. I realized, however, though the many nights of intellectual talks you and I shared, that your conviction differed from mine. You hoped to bring back a single dead person, while I aimed to change the world.
Interesting.
Well, this is cool. Then it goes into the mold too.
I'll do the second half here. That was well said, Ed. So,
Okay.
it's interesting how he said, you hope to bring back a single dead person while I aim to change the world. Now, he's saying the team that was ordered to wipe out the African village with Billy, what if that was the same one that housed the flowers that contain the progenitor virus? I mean, it's possible, but we're not going with headcanons here. We're going with strict canon. So the what ifs, the theories, I'm totally fine with us discussing. Don't miss the point. But we want to get to the bottom of it, and we're starting off from the beginning right here. So bear with me if it's coming off that everything is a little convoluted and all over the place. Theories are extremely important, but we want to get to the bottom of what is and what isn't, at least from what Resident Evil has told us. The headcanons I definitely want to discuss.
And we could probably go through sort of tidbits of information that Resident Evil 5 Resident Evil 5 files provide.
Yes.
That even goes back to, I think, early 1960.
Yeah, so, and Mr. Tibbs, when you're on the episode, you'll definitely be able to tune in with the headcanon and certain things that you'd like to discuss as well. Feel free. So, it says, your experiments on the mold would not have aided me in my endeavor to achieve the exponential infection. I thought a virus would be more effective. This is why, my dear, I had to leave you. I will regret never telling you goodbye. My apologies for reminiscing. I actually have news that I thought might please you. I have found the key to evolution, the progenitor, a virus found in Africa. See? There we go. I plan to start a company with friends and colleagues dedicated to the virus research. I will call it Umbrella, just like the symbol in the cave that we spoke about. I am one step closer to making my vision a reality. I hope you will be able to achieve your goal someday too. You taught me so much, and for that I will forever be in your debt. Sincerely, your lifelong student, Oswald E. Spencer. All right.
Wow. So Miranda is old. She is old.
Well, the thing is, we don't know if she really ever aged, because if the original virus comes from there, right, in the Romanian area, and she was Oswald E. Spencer's protege, like his teacher, right? Like, that really begs the question of, you know, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And we're learning that right now, as far back as the actual canon has allowed us to see, Mother Miranda and her blessings and the things that she did around that village that we see in RE8 was the beginning.
Yeah, and it seemed like if you saw it in the letter there, they had different visions of what they wanted to do with the virus.
And it's interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, it seems like she wanted to reanimate like a single person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to kind of mass produce it. Yeah.
Which is very interesting because it shows she was pre-Spanish flu, so looking at 1911, that would make sense because I feel like that's 100%. That is accurate. That's completely lore accurate because we have to remember Oswald E. Spencer was already an old piece of shit by the time of not really 1968, but at least by the 90s, he was like probably in his 80s, you know?
Yeah.
So it's, to me, the interesting part is this. I always felt that it was such a, like, people don't understand how important that note was, you know, Ant? Because, like, whatever people have against Village, whether they like it or they don't, it doesn't matter our opinions, that note literally canonized so many things, you know? Like, you almost cannot believe it. And, you know, so we're talking the very early 1900s, the idea of this, right? Let's think for a second, you know, we'll talk a little bit about, because I know Mr. Tibbs, a big headcanon guy, and also loves the theories, which I'm, you know, that's what I'm trying to explain. I love theories too. I love to hit with them too.
Theories are fun. Yeah.
Right? So, like, what if, right? She had this idea. They had discovered this power in a way together. But what ended up happening was he became so crazy with the idea of reanimating people or not wanting to die in fear of dying because he is a narcissist, Oswald E. Spencer, right?
Yep.
And maybe she wasn't always as twisted and contorted as Mother Miranda came off by the time we saw her. Right?
She became corrupted, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very high possibility. What are your thoughts? Do you think that could be a thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
Right.
Makes a lot of sense.
So, I mean,
we don't have all the specific information, and who knows if we'll ever get that, but we can sort of speculate.
Right.
That's what happened.
And I think speculation is key. That's what me and Mr. Tibbs will focus on a lot when we go live in part 2. But I will say this is very interesting. So we have the introduction of the letter being written around the 1911 range, right? Or at least she was pre-Spanish flu. So she's at least been around. Mother Miranda has at least been around. She lost a child. I can't imagine how that would break a parent's heart and soul. Facts, Mr. Tibbs, because I was just about to say that. That was very well said.
There you go.
That might have been the turning point that crushed her mind and soul and made her kind of have this distorted view of what the powers that she had were doing. She probably was a decent person, you know? And I mean, if you really think about it, all of this stemming back from 1911, then we jump nearly 50 years later to the forming of the actual umbrella pharmaceutical happening. Not just discussion, not just testing, not just, you know, we have a 50-year window, Ant, of we don't know what. And that's what me and you have got to get to the bottom of after we read through this. What happened after that letter from Spencer all the way to 1968?
It was cool, though. Just wanted to
go ahead
say in here, because it just that something I noticed that was really a cool little information was he named it Umbrella based on the shape of the cave that they waited on, because it sort of looked like an umbrella.
Yeah, and it was also Africa. right. It was also the logo. Right? Didn't we see if I remember correctly, I'm not, you know, like, I don't have RE8 in front of me. Didn't we see something that looked like the umbrella logo in the game?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I do agree with you. I do agree with Mr. Tibbs, though. I think that she was trying to bring back her daughter. I think that her daughter died, and that's what she was doing with Rose. She was so diluted in her mind into right what was going on that it was almost like she was trying to bring back Rose in that way. Why else would she have right? She would have broken all of the pieces of Rose's essence into 4 parts, the 4 horsemen she created.
Wow. Yeah.
So very interesting stuff. Just remember that this part of the history of Resident Evil came so much later that it's now important to talk about early on. But let's jump to one of the most... We did it, was advertised, the 4 Lords, and it was in the shape of the Umbrella logo. Yes, okay, we did see it. See how... Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Tibbs. Perfect, right on the money. So now, we're going to talk about one of the most infamous parts of Resident Evil lore. July 23rd, 1998. Go ahead, Ant. That's all you.
All right, here we go. The infamous day that started it all. STARS, Special Tactics and Rescue Service, Bravo Team, is sent into the Arklay Mountains to investigate a series of bizarre murder cases in the vicinity. Rebecca Chambers, the team medic and the newest member of STARS, is separated from the rest of Bravo Team when she boards a train transporting an escaped convict named Billy Cohen. Resident Evil 0.
Okay, so a lot of information there. Now, what's very interesting is that we have this, and then a day later we have the entire mansion outbreak. So poor Rebecca, she really went through the mud, dude. Like, she really had to go through a lot of shit. And I think if you really look at it, when we see that that train didn't look like it was carrying any sort of, like, I don't know, what part of the train was carrying a convicted, felon? It just looked like a normal, like, commuter train.
Right. What was it called? The, something Express?
Yes, I don't remember the actual name. That is something I forget. But that is true. It had a specific name, and it's funny because Bravo Team landed in the woods. At the time, they didn't even see the mansion, right? Like, when they landed, where they landed, their location. If we're talking about Resident Evil 0, they landed in a spot of the Arklay Mountains that I guess the mansion wasn't visible.
I guess so. I don't know. It's a little hard, like, with the timeline.
Right.
Maybe what it was where the helicopter landed might have been in between the train tracks and the mansion.
Right.
And because if we're going based on the remake,
Big Ryan Wood, what's up, man?
hey, what's up, Ryan? Come on to the chat. If we go based on the remake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Dooley was the RPD pilot for that day.
Right.
He piloted the Bravo Team helicopter.
Interesting.
I think they had problems where I think the beginning of 0, they just land. It doesn't crash, it lands. And I think they stay behind. The other members go and search, and I think wherever they search was maybe the opposite direction of where the mansion was. And then that's when Rebecca found the train. I mean, notice how they went their own ways too. They didn't all go together. So it's not like, Rebecca was on her own. And then I remember she ran into Edward Dewey later on the train. But then, like, Forrest Spire, Kenneth J. Sullivan,
Rodrigo,
Richard Aiken, yes, and Enrico Marina.
Enrico
to the mansion.
I'm talking about Rodrigo from Co Veronica.
So they all kind of spread out, and some of them did go to the Spencer Mansion.
Right.
They got there before the Alpha Team, but they were kind of spread out. They went in different places.
Well said, Ant. Glad to hear. It's great to hear from you, man. Shame I'm just tore my bicep. Oh, that sounds horrible, Ryan. We wish you well and nothing but love, man. Heal up quick, ice it, warm it, whatever you need to do, but please take it easy. We love you over here, man. Thank you for jumping in the stream and listening to us banter about something we love.
Dude. Feel better.
All right. So it's good to have you here, Big Ryan, chilling with us. I do agree, Ed. I remember one thing I remember from the original RE1 is when Chris is talking to Rebecca, which I know you just recently played on one of your streams. She says, that's strange. The engine was working fine up until recently. So it was almost as if she was implying that their helicopter was sabotaged, you know?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think it was sabotaged. I don't think it was Edward Dewey, obviously. I think it had to do with more like the Umbrella executives, probably Wesker, doing something to it. Remember when they're flying over, at least in the remake of Resident Evil 1, we see, look, Chris, that's literally Jill saying, and they see the helicopter. We don't actually know how far that is from the mansion, but I do know when we see the opening of the Resident Evil 1 remake and they're running away from the dogs, the mansion's pretty far by foot. It's pretty fucking far, right? Like it's a little bit of a hike.
Right.
So
and for some reason, at some point, Chris is able to see it because then he's like, "Jill, run for that house."
Yes.
So it's seeable enough, at least for Chris. Maybe it is because Chris is a marksman and maybe he has good eyesight and he's able to see further than other STARS members. I don't know. That's just the theory, but
that's that's your knowledge, right? That's like playing basketball and having ball knowledge. Like that's your ball knowledge on like of the series. Like you have that, like you remembered that his specialty in STARS is that he's a marksman. So right now we're just discussing how the different events took place, but let's talk a little bit about STARS. What is STARS? Who founded them? When were they founded? And why were they founded? Okay. So, the year was 1995. This isn't written anywhere. I know this is actual written lore. In 1995, Chief Irons and appointed Wesker as the leader of a new task force. Okay? A task force because crime inside of Raccoon City was beginning to become a little bit more rampant. A la different attacks and different things going on. People were getting unrested because they were tired of Umbrella. A lot of people, funny enough, in the town of Raccoon City were unhappy that a pharmaceutical company, corporate greed pretty much owned all of Raccoon City. So,
I mean, I don't blame the civilians.
Not at all. Not at all. And what was interesting is they didn't just take police officers, right? They appointed Enrico as the leader of the STARS Bravo team. There were two teams, guys, two teams. STARS Alpha team, STARS Bravo team. Leader of STARS Bravo team was Enrico Marinari. Then there was Albert Wesker, leader of the Alpha team, and he pretty much oversaw all of the STARS teams, okay?
Wasn't he hired by Umbrella?
Yes. Yes.
Wasn't he more of a newer member? Not the newest member, but he was like he kind of came in and they're like, who is this guy?
Right. So funny enough, how it goes was he was a plant by Umbrella. Okay. He was born and raised by Umbrella. Okay. He was born and raised like literally think like like being in like a test tube baby, as they would say. Not really, but almost. Him and William Birkin became very close friends at a young age. He did a lot of the heavy lifting, Wesker, where you had the brains mostly being William Birkin, although Wesker, as we know, was very mischievous and very smart. A huge intellectual in the field of what he was trying to accomplish. So, we know that Wesker was a plant within the STARS team. He sought out to find the best of the best. They didn't have to just be police officers, but they had to be people that had some sort of military background that they knew were going to be a higher level of SWAT that could take on some of the more drastic cases. Thus, we got Chris Redfield, who was, ex-military, right? A sniper in the U.S. military. Possibly Delta. You have Jill Valentine, who was also in the military to a degree. Obviously, Barry Burton and Chris go back a very long way. They knew each other in their earlier days. We know Wesker has military training. I don't think he was ever in the military, though. And
I have, if you want, I can read because I have out some of the physical copies of the games.
Yeah.
They give a description of the Stars members. Before that, though, I'm gonna be right back. I'm just gonna be in the bathroom. I'm just gonna mute my mic.
Okay. So not only, okay, so Mr. Tibbs says not only that, but planted by his best friend and fellow scientist William Burke. The only reason Wesker was friends with Burke was of his degenerative eye disease. Interesting. That's correct. Now I remember a lot of conversation about him having an eye disease. That's why he always wore the sunglasses. It is interesting, though, when we really look at the essence of this story, how many people were using each other just for their own personal gains. If we look at Resident Evil for what it is, it almost seems like everybody was using each other until eventually all hell broke loose. Yeah, the sunglasses before his infection. That's right. That is right. And then I think he just wears them for fucking trademark, to be honest with you. Because that dude always has glasses on, even after he has the powerful upgrade, right? So, when Zombie Slayer gets back, he said he'll be back in a second. He's going to read a little bit more into the Stars characters. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read the next blurb. We have September 21st, 1998, an illustrious day in survival horror history. Stars Alpha Team is sent into the Arklay Mountains, situated on the outskirts of Raccoon City. Their job was to wait 24 hours. Okay, 24 hours, and if they did not hear back from Bravo Team in 24 hours, Stars Alpha Team was sent in. Okay, so now you have both Stars teams sent into an area where they were sent basically to their deaths in a way, with whom they have lost contact. Alpha Team is attacked by undead dogs while examining Bravo Team's down chopper, and the surviving members, Albert Wesker, Barry Burton, Chris Redfield, and Jill Valentine, are forced to go to the Spencer Mansion. Starts our classic Resident Evil even before the days of RE0. So, a lot is written on the table, man. A lot is written on the table. We have Mr. Tibbs telling us about the degenerative eye disease, right? We have a lot of setup, right? We're going to be... Welcome back, Ant. We were just talking about July 24th, 1998 with Resident Evil 1, but we want to go ahead and let you take the floor, and please give us descriptions of each Resident Evil Stars member so that people here can understand a bit better.
Sure. This is coming from the Resident Evil Director's Cut, the Greatest Hits Manual. So, and they go based on alphabetical order, so we're going to start with the bios of the Alpha Team members.
Perfect.
And to start, what I noticed is that the Alpha Team is basically the higher caliber team. Basically, this was the more advanced tactical team than the Bravo team. I feel like a lot of the people who started on Stars, they started with Bravo, and then they moved up to Alpha. Especially when we talk about Joseph Frost. But let's talk about Barry Burton. So it says Chris Redfield's old friend and partner, former SWAT team member, Barry maintains and supplies weapons for all Stars members. With over 16 years of experience, he has led many successful missions. So Barry Burton is the veteran of the group. He's been around for quite some time. I believe in Resident Evil 1, he's 38 years old.
Wow, he was that age already?
Yeah.
I actually never realized that. That's right. That's probably why in Revelations 2, which again we'll get to down the line, he looks like he's like in his 60s.
Mm-hmm. Then we go to Joseph Frost, previous member of Stars Bravo Team, and already stationed in Raccoon City. Joseph was recently promoted to serve as vehicle specialist for Alpha Team. So vehicle specialist.
All right, so he was a vehicle specialist. Kit Kat Catsy says, Brother Bass, how are you? So lovely to see you streaming again. I hope everyone is okay. Thank you, Catsy. Hope you're doing well. We have Ant Zombie Slayer on the stream today. Yes, and we are going over the lore. Again, we're doing our best to piece things together. We might not do it perfectly, and we might not do it from the beginning, right, all the way to the end perfectly, but if we could try to explain the story for you guys as best we can, that's the goal here. Continue on, Ant. And hello, Cassie. Right. Welcome to the stream.
Now we go to our pinnacle character, Chris Redfield.
Yeah.
After being kicked out of the Air Force, so he started in the Air Force, Chris became a drifter until he met Barry Burton. Barry recruited him for the newly formed Stars. Now Chris has been reassigned to a smaller unit at Raccoon City headquarters. Oh, interesting. So yeah, so it sounds like that Chris and Barry were very close. They're very close.
Right. They were good friends, right?
Yeah, and maybe Barry was kind of a father figure to Chris.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing I wanted to bring up to you, Ant. I don't know much about Resident Evil, says Catsy. She also says, "Hey, Ant Zombie Slayer, nice to meet you."
Hey, nice to meet you too, Catsy. Welcome to the chat.
I cannot offer much discussion on the subject. You know what, though, Catsy? You being here and just listening in is truly all we need. We're just happy to have you here.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say when it comes to, we don't really have a lot of knowledge on what happened to Claire and Chris's parents, other than they were in a car accident and both tragically passed away. Right? So they kind of had to look out for each other. And Chris was a very big support for Claire. Remember, he was about 5 years older than his sister. And, you know, she was always following in his footsteps, and they were very, very close. So, you know, continue on.
He was forced into being a dad for Claire in a way, and he probably sought a father figure in Barry Burton.
Yeah, because we don't know how early on they lost their parents. Was it when they were teens? Could be.
Could be, yeah. I don't know.
While you
now we
continue,
go to our second pinnacle character, Jill Valentine, an intelligent soldier that has rescued many STARS members from danger in the past. Jill has been reassigned to Raccoon City. She is excellent with special mechanical devices such as lockpicks, or as Barry puts it, the master of unlocking.
Okay, so it says in 1994, their parents of Mr. and Mrs. Redfield were both passed away in a car accident. So Chris was 21 and Claire was 15 at the time.
Wow.
Wow.
We were young.
That is some real dark shit. Wow.
Wow. That's rough.
Wow, she was really young when she lost her parents. No wonder she looks up to Chris so much. Chris had to be an adult. He was 21. He was officially an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're 6 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
So that means Chris was 25 years old in Resident Evil 1.
Yes, he was.
Claire is 19 Resident Evil 2. All right, so moving on from Jill, then we go to Brad Vickers, the pilot of the Alpha team.
Right.
Brad is a computer expert and is an excellent source of information.
He's also a bitch.
Unfortunately, that's what it's going to get to. His fear of dying and lack of enthusiasm for rushing into danger have earned him the nickname Chicken Heart. So he's known to be an absolute coward. That's why he flies away on the helicopter, and doesn't get them when they're attacked by a group of dogs.
All right.
Now we go to our villain, Albert Wesker.
The GOAT.
The GOAT himself. Wesker has risen quickly inside the STARS organization and currently leads the Alpha team. Viewed by many as a cool guy. From his snappy haircut to his perpetual shades, Wesker was recruited by a headhunter for his sharp insight. He founded the STARS unit in Raccoon City. Wow, he's founded it, okay.
Yeah, he founded STARS because literally Chief Irons and him basically said we need to do something about this, blah blah blah. Outwardly for people to see, they were like, we need to be able to protect people. Deep down, money was going into their pockets. They didn't give a shit.
Right, and they had all connections with Birkin too. Even Chief Irons.
Yeah, he was getting paid off, as we remember, right?
Yep.
So, before you continue on, do you want to read August 24th, 1998, exactly a month after the events of Resident Evil 1?
Sure. All right, August 24th, 1990. Okay, Chris Redfield leaves for Europe to continue the fight against Umbrella. Resident Evil: The Umbrella Chronicles.
Mr. Tibbs says, Mr. Tibbs says this is why they didn't go into care, like foster care, because Chris was officially an adult at the time, so he was considered a suitable choice to be Claire's caregiver. Makes sense. He literally raised her through her teenage years. And he goes, I love Brad's cowardice and is actually canon, LOL. Fantastic, I know.
It is canon.
Chicken heart. Guy literally heard like gunshots and started flying away. He was like, all right, fuck you all.
Yeah.
So, we see that he obviously leaves for Europe, right, to continue the fight against Umbrella, which I guess there's that chapter in the Umbrella Chronicles that you play as Chris and Jill, or no, it wouldn't be Jill, it was Chris, because at the time Jill was still in Raccoon City. So in the Umbrella Chronicles on August 24th, he leaves. That's why when Claire gets to... And we'll find that out in just a few seconds, right? So Chris had already left by August 24th. He already was like, I'm going to destroy Umbrella. Remember, they were in hiding for a long time. After the events of the Spencer Mansion incident, nobody believed them, at least in this timeline. In the Resident Evil 1.5 timeline, everybody believed them and literally shit on Umbrella. But in our timeline that we got with the main story, nobody believed them. They said that they were crazy. They were people with PTSD. They had problems. They just didn't like their leadership. They really, missed Brian Irons tarnished their name. And that's why Chris, Jill, Barry, and Rebecca all had to go into hiding. But the saddest thing was, Rebecca, after that situation with both the Resident Evil 0 incident on the train and inside of the James Marcus's facility, and then going into the Spencer Mansion, she actually left the enforcement. Once STARS was basically disbanded and Raccoon City was gone, she left and became a scientist, as we know. Right? So it's a lot to really divulge. But now, this is where people get a little confused, and I've had a lot of people, and it's understandable, not fully grasp the idea of Resident Evil 2 and 3 happening at the same time. So I'm going to read the Resident Evil 3 excerpt. Anthony's going to read his all-time favorite Resident Evil 2 excerpt, and we're going to explain how they bounce back to back. So with this is a month and 4 days after Chris already leaving for Europe. Jill Valentine tries to flee Raccoon City, not only to save her life, but also meet up with Chris in Europe. So I think eventually she does meet up with Chris in Europe, because I feel like in the Umbrella Chronicles or the Darkside Chronicles, I see them together. I'd have to go back and watch. However, she is cut off by Nemesis, who is a BOW creature that literally is very strong and is the early stages of the Las Plagas virus, okay? And ends up partnering with Carlos Oliveira, an Umbrella Corps soldier supposedly sent to save citizens of Raccoon City. I think something bad is going to happen to Sherry, Catsy says. Welcome back, Catsy. I really hope it doesn't, though. It's going to be interesting if we do see Sherry in RE9. I don't know. I didn't know who the girl's voice that went, everyone's gone. I don't know who that is.
Yeah,
but
there was a lot of voices in that trailer.
The thing is, it's very possible Sherry could be in the game. We never know. I mean, it would be fitting if at least Claire and Leon were in it, because and Jill. I just feel like let's have the characters that actually fought through Raccoon City be a part of it. Right. But we could be wrong.
Yeah. Or even it's possible too that maybe we'll get some cameos of characters from Outbreak, because Outbreak is
yes, it is 100%. It is, and I mean, if anything really solidified that would be the Ashcroft character, Alyssa and Grace. So now we know that this is taking place on September 28th. September 29th rolls around. Now let's explain why this is so significant before Ant takes over. All of the events that are happening with Jill happened the day before. What happens is Jill falls unconscious after being infected by the Nemesis during their fight in front of the clock tower. She is out cold for literally almost a day and a half.
Yep.
So at this time of September 29th, 1998, she is out cold.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ant. September 29th, 1998. One of your favorite games of all time. Take it away. And give a little
100%.
bit of a description about Resident Evil 2 and a little bit about what you truly think.
So Resident Evil 2 says September 29, 1998. We are introduced to two new characters after the first Resident Evil, starting with Claire Redfield, the younger sister of Chris Redfield, and then Leon S. Kennedy, who he is a rookie. It's his first day on the job at the Raccoon Police Department. So they're both. Claire goes into Raccoon City to look for her brother. Leon is going to RPD on his first day, unbeknownst they're entering a zombie outbreak. So let's see what it says here. Leon S. Kennedy, a rookie police officer on his first day with the Raccoon Police Force, is reporting for duty. He meets up with Claire Redfield, who is searching for her brother, Chris, after he discovers that zombies had overrun the city. Now, I don't know why they didn't know that there were zombies in the city.
I think it was the road they came in on, if it was any indicator from the remake. But real quick, we have a couple comments. One from Katsy. I do think that the final boss dude from the game will come back at some point. I think she's referring to Wesker, or they're referring to Wesker. I don't think he's properly dead. I mean, we haven't seen him since, so it is a possibility. We haven't seen him dead, so he's not definitively dead. Everything leads towards him being dead, but if the remake retcons the idea of him being blown up in a pile of lava, then I 100% support that. Mr. Tibbs says, yes, someone actually knows the lore behind Nemesis, as he is a normal tyrant who was infected with a parasite called the NE-alpha parasite, which enhances his durability and intelligence. Thank you, Mr. Tibbs, for spitting that effing lore.
That's dope.
We could not wait to hear you on here.
Yeah, so Nemesis is he's like an upgraded tyrant.
Yes. He's basically a super max version of like Tyrant, more intelligent, more aggressive, quicker, durable, has 45 different. It's like fighting a Final Fantasy boss. He's got 5 phases, right? So continue on with your Resident Evil 2 discussion there, Antonio.
Analysis. But yeah, so they get separated. There was an accident. They get separated, but they both eventually do make it to RPD. This is where I get confused with canon, because in the original, if we're looking at Resident Evil 2, 1998,
right?
The canon is Claire A, Leon B,
right?
But in the remake, it's Leon A, Claire B. So I'm not exactly sure which is 100% canon or somewhere in the middle.
Right.
So we don't know if Leon actually met or encountered Marvin or not, or if Claire did. But either of them do encounter Marvin. He is probably the last surviving RPD cop left in the building. If anyone has played or seen scenes from Resident Evil Outbreak File number 2, there's a mission called Desperate Times, and it's basically the moments right before they arrive to RPD. It goes, it talks about the cops making a last stand against the zombies trying to break into the RPD. And we see some other officers who get mentioned in the remake who don't make it. I think one is Elliot.
Yes, Elliot. Yes.
And then there's a female officer from the Outbreak mission. I think her name is Rita. She winds up escaping through the statue. So she gets away, and then Marvin gets bit, obviously. And we're not sure, like, as far as canon.
Right.
Is the canon now with Resident Evil 3 remake where he gets bit by a zombified
Brad? That's right.
or is it from Outbreak where he gets bit by a zombie during, uh, you know, during that whole raid? You know,
I mean, either one could probably fit the mold. I feel like it's a little like, not that I didn't like the idea of Brad biting him. I didn't like the idea of Brad talking and going sorry. It was like weird.
yeah, that was
Right.
weird. Yeah.
So I was just kind of looking into a little information in regards to the Zap system idea that you discussed, to where you're right. Claire A, Leon B was always the canon, and it seems right. Like when we're really talking about true canon for the remake, it seems like it's Leon A, Claire B. Now, what would lead us to believe that? I personally think because in the opening of RE4 Remake, when we see Leon interacting with Marvin, and he literally has Marvin's knife still in Resident Evil 4 Remake, that leads me to
Right.
believe that Leon's first is actually canon in the remake. What a lot of
'Cause
people
he's
have...
talking
Right.
about Marvin, yeah. That makes
Yes.
sense.
See, like they never actually stated that any of the definitives, like in the remake, they never described that anything definitively is canon or not. But what I do know is that if we look into Resident Evil 2 Remake, Claire and Leon's campaigns with elements from both A and B scenarios are kind of like blended together. It's almost as if like when you play all four scenarios, you get the full picture in the remake, comparatively to if you want the full picture, you just have to play Claire A, Leon B in the original.
Right. And that's in my playthrough of Resident Evil Director's Cut. I kind of mentioned that similar where both scenarios you kind of get the full picture because both the whole game is not actually fully canon
Right.
when it comes to when it comes to which characters survive because you know those four characters do make it out, but in different playthrough there's a missing character that's not even mentioned. It's not even there.
Right. You're right. So we have...
And I just
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Base.
No,
I just
go ahead.
want to just go back to Resident Evil 1. I just, if you don't mind, I want to just go through the Bravo team.
Yeah, go ahead. I feel like that's important so we know them.
So I'm going to go through the bios for the Bravo team, and then I just found on Resident Evil Wikia, because there's no bio for Edward Dew, I'm going to read his bio from that website after. So for starting with Richard Aiken, Richard is a very important member of STARS, serving as Bravo's communications expert, the only link back to headquarters for teams out in the field. Richard actually has to pull double duty as radio man for both units, since Alpha Team has no dedicated communications expert. That sounds a little fishy.
Yeah. Something strange is there.
It's weird, right?
Yeah.
So then we go to Rebecca Chambers, the youngest member of the group. Rebecca has been recruited for her knowledge of field medicine and first aid. She is nervous around other members, both because of her age and lack of experience. So she's the rookie of the group. I think she's only 18 years old at the time of Resident Evil. Yeah, so she's a new member. I think she was appointed by Wesker.
That's interesting. It's interesting. He had like some sort of like fetish towards her, didn't he?
Yeah.
She's like what, 19 or 18, and he was like, he had like a picture of her in like a friggin' cheerleading outfit.
Yep. And then we go to the leader of Bravo Team, Enrico Marini, Bravo Team's leader and Wesker's second in command for the STARS unit. Enrico feels threatened by the arrival of the Alpha Team, thinking that Chris or Barry may end up replacing him as number one to Wesker.
Interesting.
It sounds like there was already a lot of tension between the two teams before they carried out the mission.
Wow. So there was a lot of shit that was taking place even before we got to see, which we'll continue to deep dive into that more, along with Anthony, along with Mr. Tibbs, because I know Mr. Tibbs is going to have his own thoughts on a lot of the different things when he's live on next Friday. Let's go over to, and well said, Ed.
Oh, there's two more.
Two more? Go ahead.
I'm just going to do Edward, and then I'll do Edward Dewey,
Uh-huh.
and then we'll continue that, all right?
Yep.
Forrest Spire he's a great sniper in addition to his duties as Bravo's vehicle specialist, just like Joseph Frost. He is a consummate professional, and his work earns him great respect from the other members. And then we have Kenneth J. Sullivan, a quiet but very talented field scouting officer. Kenneth formerly worked as a chemist. He wonders why his chemical experience is necessary in Raccoon City, but quickly discounts this since Wesker himself enlisted him in Star. Interesting. And now,
Interesting.
I'm just going to share a bit on Edward Dewey, who's actually not even in the original. He's not even mentioned.
Really?
But this is from, yeah, this is from the Resident Evil Wiki.
Mm-hmm.
What it says about him. Let's see here. Dewey, so Edward Dewey, he's part of the Stars Bravo team's pilot. He tended to look after the team's younger members, such as Rebecca Chambers, and he was also the team's auxiliary mechanic in conjunction with designated vehicle specialist Forrest Spire. And in Zero, if I remember, I think he's looking for Billy Cohen.
Interesting. Okay. Well said. Thank you for sharing a lot about all of the Stars members with us.
Yeah, sure.
So now we're at October of 1998. This is literally after Jill wakes up. This is after the events of, Leon, Claire, and Sherry escaping, along with Hunk, the fourth survivor. Human Unit Never Killed, one of the greatest characters in the franchise. In October of 1998, the United States President authorizes the missile-based demolition of Raccoon City. Jill and Carlos make it out just in time to avoid the explosion. So that's the ending we saw on October 1st, where even in the original and in the remake, they talk about this place getting absolutely obliterated with missiles. They never once say that it is nuke-related. That's why I don't know why... For a long time, it feels like people thought that the missiles to destroy it were nuke-based and had, some sort of radiation. It never once said that. They were ballistic missiles that were just meant to wipe off the face of the Earth what was there.
Right.
Okay, that's something that definitely had to be cleared up.
It wouldn't be completely destroyed.
Yes.
So that basically says, hey, RE9 can happen.
Yes, 100%. Literally make sure that it didn't retcon anything. So now we have December of 1998, and Ant, you'll go ahead and read RE4's. I'm going to finish this one up with the code Veronica. Claire is captured. So this is literally... It was blown up in October when they escape. And then November, December, 2 months after the events of Resident Evil 2, we got Code Veronica X. Claire is captured by Umbrella guards while searching the Umbrella Paris labs for her brother Chris, which would have been interesting if there is a remake, us to at least look around the Paris lab a little bit, because the only thing we ever saw from it was the opening cinematic. I always wanted to actually be in it. We were brought to Rockford Island.
That's a remake that I really want to see.
Yes. Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God. I know. That's what I mean. It would be so cool just to see and to feel, right? Now, as we said, she's taken to a prison on Rockford Island. Rockford Island is half prison, and it's also a place where they train a lot of Umbrella operatives, such as Hunk and even Nikolai. So now, my favorite Resident Evil. I know this game inside and out, Mr. Tibbs says. Absolutely he does. You should check out his knife-only runs right over on his YouTube channel, Mr. Tibbs 1992.
Yeah, that's impressive, Mr. Tibbs. I don't know how.
I don't know how he did it either. That's a friggin' hard game to just do a knife-only. But Resident Evil Code Veronica definitely deserves a remake. Code Veronica X made it even better. We are looking for a remake. The next project that Capcom does in revolving around Resident Evil should be nothing less than a Code Veronica remake. What are your thoughts, Ant?
100%.
100%.
I would love to see that. I would also love to see an Outbreak remake.
Yes.
Or like a remaster or like a port or something.
I would like to just see a remake. Just put File and File 2 into one game. And let people play the game with better graphics, use a different engine with the characters they know and love, and just give online accessibility. You'd make millions upon millions to just remake
They would do
Outbreak.
yeah, it would do so well.
So well in this day and age of a world of, taken over by online multiplayer, this is your chance. So,
Yeah.
with Resident Evil being one of the hottest games on the market, even for a horror game, people know this that aren't even into horror.
Yeah. It's so popular.
So, we're going to cover some of the events of Resident Evil 4 and 5 today, guys, and then we're going to watch a video after we cover the events of 4 and 5 to kind of close out the idea of Spencer, and that's pretty much going to lead towards close to our end of our stream, but that's just like the table of contents as to what's coming on. We're going to discuss 4, 5. We're going to look a little bit into a timeline that Ant was nice enough to grace us with, and we're going to end it on a beautiful video. So, Ant, take it away with the events of 2004 and even 2002. So I guess start with 02 and then the 4.
Yeah, start with 02, yeah. It sort of kind of sets up the events for Resident Evil 4. All right, so here we go. July 2002, Leon S. Kennedy from Resident Evil 2 and Jack Krauser, a former special agent, are sent to South America to capture the leader of a drug smuggling operation.
Right.
I think it's called Operation Javier.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
You can play this mission in Resident Evil: The Dark Side Chronicles.
Yes, which is exclusive to the Nintendo Wii. Obviously, you can emulate this game onto your PC and use a controller now, or even use the mouse and keyboard, right? There's been a lot of implementations, but I think the thing that always bothered me about the Dark Side Chronicles in its totality is a fantastic game. But I think, like, having this chapter of questions, we always had questions too, like in RE4, with how Krauser and Leon knew each other than like him being his major or, whatever, his his commanding officer. We never got to see them work together, right?
Right.
Mr. Tibbs says right here, it deserves it more than a Resi 5, as it was a major lore implications, as it was Rescuer's return and the backstory of Umbrella. I did have the port for PS3. Oh, there was in the UK, you guys got a port for the Dark Side Chronicles. We did. We only have it on the Wii.
Yeah. So they were working together in the very beginning cutscene too of Resident Evil 4 remake.
Right.
There's a little brief cutscene where Leon is training with Krauser. So they definitely worked together.
Right.
So 2 years after, Leon is hired, in 04, is hired to find the U.S. president's missing daughter, Ashley Graham, who was reportedly being held captive in Europe. A cult group known as the Los Illuminados is discovered to be behind the kidnapping, and they have created a parasite known as the Las Plagas, which allows for mind control of individuals who are carriers of the parasite.
Which leads into the story of one of the best Resident Evils, but probably one of the top 25 greatest video games ever created.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like there is not a single list, I believe, online that is accurate, that if you had a top 25 out of the thousands of video games, over like 10,000 games that have probably ever been made and more, that Resident Evil 4 does not fall in the top 25. This game broke a lot of barriers for gaming going forward, with action horror leading the helm and the third person over the shoulder camera.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mr. Tibbs,
Yeah.
Before Anthony, I'm sorry, Ant, I did double check. It was only a PAL and a Japanese release. We did not get it over here in the US, the PS3 port. Go ahead, Ant.
That makes sense.
Your thoughts on
Yeah, I was gonna
RE4?
add- Oh, it's so good. Definitely, it's an S tier Resident Evil game, easy, one of the best. And I wanted to add too that for Leon's character, after the events of Resident Evil 2, he didn't go back to being a police officer. He went and became a government agent.
Right.
So that's kind of where he went and what he was doing the 6 years after the events of the Raccoon City explosion.
And one thing I really liked that they fleshed out, at least in the remake, was just how much the events of Raccoon City were weighing on Leon psychologically.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
as much as I love the way they perceived Leon in the 4 original, don't miss the point, that action hero, Dream Boy, I really think like the whole, like, this was really a lot of PTSD and just like losing the people that he loved. It's so good as long as you don't have 91 deaths on Professional. He's talking about RE4 Remake. Yeah, dude, that was a rough one. I don't blame you for being mad at that. RE4 Remake on Professional is, like I said, that and Village of Shadows in Resident Evil Village are hardest difficulties. Like, don't feel any sort of way. It's very, very challenging. But I think just the inner torment that Leon felt and his, like, femme fatale relationship with Ada, and how she was always playing hard to get, right? Finding out that she was alive again, and really, you know, discussing a little bit about, remember, Ant, when we first started this stream, we discussed a piece of vital information that was dropped in later Resident Evil titles. Would you care to share with everybody some information that we learned about Luis in the remake?
Oh, yes. You find out at the end of the remake that he was a researcher, one of the researchers on the Nemesis project.
That is, folks, let's wake up in here. That is nuts.
That's a big reveal. That's like a mic dropper. Yeah.
That's a mic dropper reveal, guys, because we always knew that he had ties to, like, Umbrella. Like, we, you know, like, it was confirmed because he had the Las Plagas virus that he gives to Leon in the original. But think about it. He actually worked at an Umbrella lab that we do see the lab that he was working in later on once he came back to the village. But he was a researcher scientist that was actually involved in the Nemesis project. Like, guys,
that was a cool addition.
One thing I will say, Ant, I do like how the remakes are bridging the gaps between any sort of story, like, you know, plot holes.
Yeah, me too.
When it came to the village thing with Mother Miranda, whether it came to, you know, Luis Serra having ties to the Nemesis project, that's why he is so eerily a lot like a Las Plagas creature, right, in the parasitic way. I mean, Resident Evil 4 will stand the test of time. Whether you go out and play the OG HD version, you play it on the GameCube or PlayStation 2, or you go out and play the RE4 remake, there's no bad way of playing the game unless you play the cell phone version. But other than that, it is a wonderful, wonderful game. And I'm sure you could agree with this. No, I can't say anything bad about Resident Evil 4. So, with that, we have one of the most, and this is where I really wanted to, right, because we're going to watch a video on Oswald E. Spencer after this, but this is why, for the next part, right, because this is where it's going to end for this document, and when we see Anthony on video 3, we're going to be deep diving into the games themselves. So me and Anthony are going to be doing a lot of research off stream, and me and him are going to cover Resident Evil 2 and 3 in depth on the next stream that he's on, and me and Mr. Tibbs are going to cover 0 and 1 and a lot of headcanon and a lot of things like that. A remake of 0 confirms Billy. Okay, so Mr. Tibbs said, I really hope that even though it's my headcanon, and hey, headcanon is a fair take on something. It's how we perceive it and understand something. I respect it. He says, even though it's my headcanon, I hope a remake of 0 will confirm Billy Cohen as Nemesis. Because remember, that has been a very highly debated topic. Who the hell is Nemesis? Was it John, Ada's boyfriend? Did she even really have a boyfriend that she gave a shit about? Was he a researcher at the Spencer Mansion and they used his body to use in the Nemesis project, right? Was he a researcher for Umbrella? Or did Billy Cohen either get bit, infected, or captured and used as Nemesis? We don't know.
A lot of speculation. What I could add to this discussion is recently playing Director's Cut, like I said, not where the canon is, but towards the end of the game, there's that file of John, Ada.
Cell. Oh, no, it's not Cell, right? What is it? John, Ada?
It's Mole in the original.
Right.
And then it's Cell in the remake. But yeah, so there was a letter that was sent from John to Ada, basically warning her to dispose of the Spencer Mansion if she gets there, blow it up, or basically, like, you know, telling her, like, I am no longer gonna be a human, I'm turning into the living dead type of thing.
That's interesting, man. That's some really interesting shit.
Yeah, so what that letter says is that John was one of the researchers at the Umbrella Laboratory
Hmm.
at the Spencer Mansion.
Wow. So now, guys, we head over to 2005. Not even really a year after the Kennedy reports came back to the United States after saving Ashley. I believe Ashley was away at school when she was abducted by Jack Krauser. We learn a lot about the history of him and Jack Krauser, right? All the stuff. Leon becomes the action war hero. He's a legendary agent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But still, again, on a mission that tore him apart as well. As much as it ends on a good note, he still has to go his separate ways from the girl that he loves, Ada Wong, because of the choices that they both made in life. In 2005, it says Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield helped found the BSAA, Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance. So this is their fight against the BOWs. This is their fight against Umbrella. This is their fight against anybody that has anything to do with evil. BOWs like Tricell. Chris vanishes and Jill embarks on a journey to find him. That's Resident Evil Revelations, okay? So we understand all about that, and in Revelations 1, they reconnect, right? We have an idea about that. And then the events of Resident Evil 5 start up. Now, we start off with which is not on here, the Resident Evil Lost in Nightmares DLC, which...
Yeah, that's not in there.
I'm surprised it's not, but we don't even really have... Desperate Escape is kind of just the escape of a character and another character, so it was just like an added DLC. But Lost in Nightmares is important because this is when Chris and Jill reunite after Revelations 1, and they're tasked with a mission where they gain intel that Spencer is actually still alive, and they've found his castle, the place that he's been hiding out in.
Yeah.
They
Which
go through...
looks a lot like
Yes.
the Spencer Mansion.
It does, eerily enough.
Very similar model. And another Easter egg, there's a model of the inside of Spencer Mansion in Code Veronica.
Yes, there is. There is. That's right.
Yep. Yep.
So, as Chris and Jill are trying to find and fight through BOWs and creatures within there, they run into witnessing Wesker assassinate Oswell E. Spencer, their biggest foe up until this point. We see them face off against Wesker, fighting for their lives, and just before Wesker, with his super strength, grabs Chris and is about to execute him, Jill lunges out and tackles Wesker through the window, falling deep into the water that is overlooked. The castle is overlooking. Chris reaches out his hand and screams, "Jill!" And then 4 years pass, thinking that Jill Valentine was KIA. What are your thoughts, Ant?
Did they find the body?
They never did. But she was apparently washed away at sea. She was deemed killed in action. We never saw anything from Jill. This took place a year after the Kennedy reports when Leon came back home. And then 4 years pass. Chris Redfield, now a member of the BSAA, right? Because they helped found the BSAA, and he took a little time probably away after thinking that Jill died. He's sent to Africa because there's a lot of shady stuff happening over there that we don't yet know about. He meets up with Sheva Alomar, a member of the BSAA's African branch. Remember, now they're international, the BSAA. They're in all parts of the world, handling different parts of bioterrorism. So there, of course, is an African branch. And famous characters from Resident Evil 5 and fan favorites, because people really love these characters, Josh Stone and Sheva Alomar are in the African branch.
Yeah.
The two work together to neutralize an outbreak within a village. So a lot, it did have its divisiveness because it was a lot like Resident Evil 4 in story and in action. And really, if Resident Evil 4 set the action horror into effect, this game literally put it on a treadmill and made it move faster, So this was a divisive title because, yes, talking about Resident Evil 6 in our next stream, and when we do, Ant, is going to be, yeah, we'll joke around about it not being the best, but still, like, as much as we love 4 and 5, they did set the catalyst for what did become Resident Evil 6, for better or worse. These games ended up good, but, you know.
Mainly for worse.
Yeah, I mean, they push that action horror down very much, and, you know, playing Resident Evil 6 recently, I didn't have a bad time. I actually had quite a lot of fun because it is an enjoyable action game. It's just, it is a over-the-top, quick-time event, action, no horror, very, very long stories because you have to play as multiple character stories, and the story is not very strong. This is my personal take. I don't know about you, Ant.
Yeah, I'm personally not a fan of 6. It's very janky. It's just there's a lot of issues with it.
Yes. That's not us. That's not me and Ant Zombie Slayer shitting on people that love RE6. If you do like RE6, by all means, everybody has their own cup of tea. It's just this was a very big deviation, and it's arguable that even 5 was, but it was a huge gallop deviation away from the Resident Evil franchise. And go ahead.
I remember at the time how excited I was because the hype for the game was, you know, through the roof.
Oh, it was out of the fucking world,
and
dude.
I think because, like, it was the first time you were having Chris and Leon together in a game.
Oh, it was insane.
There was that screenshot where they're both eyeing each other with the gun.
Yes. And they're like fighting, and it shows that in the trailer. I mean, the trailer was hype as shit, you know?
Yeah.
And they did a good job on the advertisement, especially coming off of 4 and 5. But 6 was left up to scrutiny. It did not sell well, and even if it did sell well at first, the return rates made up for it in sales. And that is where we'll discuss a lot more of RE6 in our next stream. But to cap it off, we've got a video for you guys. Let me get to the right thing because I'm everywhere but the right thing. Okay. So this is something that we're going to discuss, me and Anthony, in our next stream. This is going to cover all of those events from the early 60s up until where we get to. We did not cover it fully today because, again, we have a lot to cover. This is going to be multiple episodes.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're going to watch part of this video because we do want to understand a little bit more about Oswald E. Spencer. So I'm going to go ahead and mute the music, guys. We're going to cut it for now, and we're going to watch this. Shout out to Hey Diva, and make sure you go check out their channel because it's a very well done video that explaining Evil Episode 1, how Oswald E. Spencer caused the events of the Resident Evil storyline. So we are going to start off by pretty much watching most of this video, and then we're going to discuss a very little bit about it, and that'll be it, guys. And then we will be seeing Mr. Tibbs on the next stream and Ant Zombie Slayer on the following. So let's get into this video. So, since this video is about 30 minutes, we're going to be encapsulating it even in the stream with Mr. Tibbs, but that is the answer, guys. This is a question that I think me and Anthony will have a conversation on before we finish up this stream. Did they have a love interest together? Because he calls her my dear. It seems like they were a little bit closer. Ant, what is your thoughts?
Sorry. Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's possible that they did. There was some other, before we go, some files from Resident Evil 5, just give some brief information. I don't know if you wanted to share some of that before we end.
Absolutely.
It kind of starts from, it talks a little more about the progenitor virus and like how that got started.
Yes, so let's see.
So they put it on IGN. I know IGN's not the most reputable, but this is straight from Resident Evil 5 files.
Right. So we'll read just a little bit probably, right? Do we know exactly where it is?
Yeah, I have it right here. I'm actually looking at it.
All right, Anna's going to read this for you guys.
So this is files that you can find in Resident Evil 5. So it starts in 1960s. Engineer Michael Warren begins the electrification of Raccoon City. The fifth head of the Ashford family, Edward Ashford, begins his research into what would later become known as the progenitor virus. Then in 1962, Oswell E. Spencer enlists architect George Trevor to design and construct a reclusive mansion on the outskirts of Raccoon City. I'm sure when you have your stream with Mr. Tibbs, you'll probably go more in depth with the Trevor family.
Yes, we're going to discuss a lot of 0 and 1, and I know Mr. Tibbs really wants to focus in on those. That'll be well said.
In 1966, in December of 1966, Oswell E. Spencer, James Marcus, and Edward Ashford, the trio, officially established the progenitor virus, which reconstitutes a living organism's DNA. So these kind of three worked together. And the year after, November 1967, the construction of the mansion and lab facilities in the Arklay Mountains is. Just a little bit of here talks about Jessica and Lisa Trevor are injected with a variant of the progenitor virus. The virus fails to establish itself in Jessica, and she is subsequently disposed of. The virus shows promise in Lisa, and as a result, she is placed under close observation. George Trevor is chosen to be a test subject. However, due to his intimate knowledge of the mansion facility, he is disposed of instead.
Wow.
Yeah. Then in 1968, construction of Raccoon City's public transit trolleys begins in Europe, and they are quickly put into use within the city. Spencer founds the pharmaceutical company Umbrella with Marcus and Edward Ashford. The company is established to mask their biological research. In July of that year, Edward Ashford contracts the progenitor virus and dies. His son Alexander Ashford succeeds him as head of the Ashford family. Then in August, the Umbrella training facility is established in the Arklay Mountains with Marcus appointed as director. February of 1969, Alexander Ashford begins to design a facility in Antarctica. He secretly makes plans to build an underground laboratory for the purpose of the Code Veronica project.
Wow. All the way back in the 60s.
Yeah. And in November, Umbrella's Antarctica base and research facilities are completed. So that kind of goes through the 1960s. And there's a lot more. It talks about the 70s.
That's very well said. And I think me and you will save from here on to discuss in our next video, which the next video guys, with me and Zombie Slayer will be not this upcoming Friday, the Friday after, in which we're going to discuss in-depth Resident Evils 2 and 3 and a lot of the lore and true canon behind the games. We're going to look into some of the game's zapping system decision-making and why it was good. And we'll also understand a little bit about how everything was coinciding between 3 and 2. So, with that, guys, obviously, I'm a little under the weather. Ant has been as well. We're going to cut it right now, but we wanted to thank you guys so much for being a part of this opening stream into this wonderful mini-series that we'll be having going on. Next Friday at 5 p.m., you can find me and Mr. Tibbs live in the same seat discussing more into Resident Evil timelines and lore. And we will see Mr. Ant Zombies.
Excited.
That's going to be great. That's going to be great.
I'll try and check that out next Friday.
Absolutely. And we'll have Ant Zombie Slayer back the following Friday to drop more of his knowledge. So once again, thank you, Anthony, so much for being a part of the stream. Really appreciate you taking that hour and a half to be here.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yes.
And I look forward to partaking in future episodes with you.
Yes, because me and Anthony are not only going to do the Resident Evil franchise with Mr. Tibbs, me and Anthony are going to cover the we are going to cover the Silent Hill franchise with Noble Comet as well. So you're going to have the trifecta for both series, guys. And again, this was just part 1. We cannot wait to see you back here next Friday at 5 p.m. Once again, thanks, Ant. And this is the Notorious Base and
Zombie Slayer.
Signing off. We'll see you guys for the next one.
All right, guys. Take care.
Stay vigilant.
Rest of the week.